Welcome to abombtozzzax. With me, Colin Holt. And my friends, Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come!
Hello, welcome back to abombtozzzax, my favorite Marvel character, where we go through every single Marvel character all the way from A to Z, talking about them, who they are, where they're from. Are they good or bad? Are they just average or just very, very dull? Let's find out. We, this week, are talking about 3 new characters, but I must let you know, before you listen any further, please like and rate and review our podcast if you like it, please. That would be very kind. Thank you. We haven't had a review yet. I know we will, but we haven't had one yet. And also, if you want to support the podcast and get some extra bonus material and the chance to choose which characters we jump ahead to and which comics we read, please go to patreon.com/abombtozzzax. There we go. Let's get all that out the bloody way and introduce these 3 wonderful men in their 40s here to talk about comic books. Well, my name's Colin Holt. Like a traveler through the stars who knows he's destined for greatness, but forced to listen to his master. In this case, he's not my master, but my brother Stephen. Forced to listen to his dreadfully boring stories. We'll come back to that later. My name's Colin Holt. That was a terrible introduction. And like a wonderful Spanish sex bomb with beautiful facial hair, here he comes. It's Dan Snellgrove. Say hello, Dan. I gave you a nice one.
That was me. Oh, yes. My God.
I think Aguila's your character. El Aguila, if you will.
Gracias, senor.
Oh, who knows how old he is, but we know he may have been seen by Noah and the other inhabitants of the ark as he led them to safety. It's the wonderful Jamie Firth.
Hello.
I've turned this time. I've given Dan the nice introduction and you the mean one. That doesn't seem right, does it?
I don't know. You
Yes.
just put me in the Bible. That's good.
Well, being in the Bible is a wonderful. We all love to be in the Bible. That's my dream. That's on my bucket list.
I assume that's the next podcast.
Not in the new Bible. I'm putting together a new Bible.
From Ahab to
Zebediah? Is
there is one, isn't there?
Zebediah.
Zebediah.
Who's Zarathusa? Is he a Bible guy? Is he like a Bible guy now? He's not one of them Bible guys, you know what I'm saying? Well, I'm in Budapest right now. I've just been looking at some medieval ancient Christian art today, in fact. I went to the Budapest art gallery. It was all right.
Glowing report there.
Quite pricey for what it was. No, there was a point where I was sat, I was like, wow, I'm around all these Roman and Greek and medieval stuff. This is incredible. But then I was like, oh, it's only about 3 rooms. It's a huge building. It's probably the most impressive buildings I've ever seen in my life, but could do with a bit more stuff. You know what I mean? Anyway, enough about Budapest art galleries, of which there are many. Today, we're talking about 3 of the probably least famous Marvel characters of all, but I'm going to jump in at the start. I love them all, I think. I don't think I dislike any of these characters. We are talking about Aguila, or El Aguila, which is Spanish for the eagle, I believe. We are talking about Airwalker, also called Gabriel Airwalker. There's a convoluted history there, which you won't have got from these comics, but I can explain. And finally, Ajak of the Eternals. So first of all, Dan, you looked at El Aguila. You've got a bit of a South America connection, of course. You've recently traveled in and fallen in love with it. Did you see any sort of heroic mustachioed characters like?
Oh, plenty, Colin, plenty. But
Although he's not from South America, is he? He's from Madrid.
yes, I did do a little bit of Wikipedia-ing as inspired by Jamie. And yeah, Madrid. He is from Madrid, yeah.
To give you the quick heads up, the quick facts on El Aguila before we dive in, real name is Alejandro Montoya. I don't think that's revealed in the comic we're about to discuss. He's 6 foot, respectable height. You know, most heroes they tend to go 6'2" or 4, and that's pretty rare, I think. But you know, he's 190 pounds, if you must know. Brown eyes, black hair, and from the website I was on, unusual features. Mustache.
Very unusual.
Very unusual feature. Very unusual feature. He was created by Joe Duffy, Trevor Von Eden, and Dave Cockrum, who is a creator of Nightcrawler, you might be pleased to hear. And he first appeared in Power Man and Iron Fist 58 in May 1979. So he could have appeared, El Aguila. That was the month I was born. So El Aguila and I share, you know, a month, a birthday month, a birth month.
Yet you don't share a moustache.
We do not share a moustache. Currently, I'm completely naked on the face and from the waist down, of course. You can't see that.
Can't see that.
My little El Aguilas. Sorry. Come on. Keep it clean. So, El Aguila. What did you think of this guy, Dan?
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to be a real pedant straight away here. I'm sorry. You may not have noticed there's a little accent over the A, which means we have to emphasise that bit first. So it's El Aguila.
Oh.
Yeah.
El Aguila. Not, because I was thinking, Aguila. That's what I kept thinking.
Yeah, well.
But it's Aguila.
Aguila.
El Aguila.
But not Aguila.
He's got very strong Zorro vibes going on, hasn't he?
Oh, boy. Well, he is absolutely, definitely based on Zorro. That was something that I read up on. Yeah.
Oh.
They just admit it. They're like, yeah, we liked Zorro. We've made a Zorro character.
Do you know much about Zorro? I never got into Zorro. I know most of those kind of like Sherlock Holmes, I think, but Zorro eluded me. Like he eluded many, I think.
Yeah, he eluded me too, really. I mean, I've got an image of him like swiping his sword and there being a Z wherever he was. But that's about it.
Man. Scarring man for life.
Yeah, awful, really, isn't it? But
like in the girl with the dragon tattoo. That's a horrible reference again. But with a Z.
Yeah.
El Aguila, I don't think scars anyone in this issue. We're reading, by the way, we're just reading, for all these characters, we're just reading the first time they ever appeared.
Right. So this is
Man and Iron Fist.
This is the 70s, isn't it? So when they say unusually he's got a moustache, that's quite usual in the 70s, isn't it? I imagine men in discotheques with moustaches.
Literally everyone.
Everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone's got a moustache. The chauffeur who appears with a shotgun at one point has a moustache.
Quite usual then, I would say.
That bit. What's he doing there?
We'll get to that, gentleman. Chaucer.
We'll get to that. Okay. Carry on, my old friend.
So this is Power Man and Iron Fist. You know, straight away we've got two new ones.
Did you know anything about Power Man and Iron Fist? Had you even heard of him before?
Well, I hadn't joined the dots because I have actually seen Luke Cage on the telly.
Right.
So I didn't know that Luke Cage is actually Power Man, right?
Did you see all of it? I only saw I think I only watched one episode, and I got to say I was so bored.
It wasn't the best. I did watch all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it sort of develop much?
I don't really remember, so I think that says.
Oh no.
Really, doesn't it?
Mine, just to jump in here, Power Man, Luke Cage, I think he's originally called Luke Cage Hero for Hire. And then he becomes Power Man. They think they should give him a name, a superhero name. And then they go, actually, Luke Cage is better than Power Man, so we're just going to call him Luke Cage again. But him and Iron Fist become one of the classic duos. A dynamic duo, a double act, if you will. But I think I love Luke Cage, but I love this old school Luke Cage. And it's from, I don't really know much about it, but you've heard of the blaxploitation thing, Shaft and all that stuff. Very funny film called Black Dynamite. Have you ever seen that? Oh my God, that's funny. I heard that is a more recent parody of those films. But I love that Luke Cage has got that Shaft kind of tough guy against all the odds. And do you know what I mean? And just kind of dragged up and fighting for the common man and all that. And I felt the TV version immediately. He just felt very slick and cool and savvy and just like a model or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The actor who seemed fine, but like, don't know, he didn't have that kind of grimy, gritty kind of tough guy, which I love. I love Luke.
Well, I'm with you. I love all that, definitely, in this. And it's the first bit on the top, it says Luke Cage, a child of the streets. So, it sets that up straight away. Although Daniel Rand, the Iron Fist, is a son of the mystic city of Kunlun. I mean, what's that all about?
I've never really got into the history of Iron Fist. I can't remember. It's quite, when we get to I guess we'll find out. But he's basically, I think he's like a sort of Bruce Wayne / Green Arrow type billionaire, son of billionaires, but somehow he gets stranded in a mystical city and learns Kung Fu. Similarly, he was like, in the same way Luke Cage is the kind of, because the blaxploitations film were popular, he's there because Bruce Lee stuff was popular.
This does feel like a kind of, right, we need to chuck all of the like things of the day into this comic book. So let's have Shaft and Zorro and Bruce Lee.
Well, I guess he's looking around trying to make it popular for the kids. What are the kids into nowadays, and Spider-Man, etc. At this point, 79 doesn't quite cut it anymore, I'm afraid.
Also, of course, the comic
actions,
The comic opens with them in a discotheque as well.
Oh, it does.
Wonderful. Oh, and is that Misty Knight? Yeah, I think Misty Knight's there dancing with Danny.
So what I loved is that they're in a discotheque in the 70s and they're on a date. We see superheroes out on a date, and I'm so glad to say that it's not going well. I felt a lot better about myself, that even superheroes find dating tricky.
Which one finds it tricky? Does Danny?
They both find it tricky because Luke Cage is sat there, and you get a little insight into what he's thinking. So he's there in this nightclub, everyone's dancing, and he says, "Man, this place is a drag. Didn't know nightclubs had changed so much while I was in prison." Edgy.
Yeah.
Wish I could think of something to say to this woman.
I get that a lot. I'm like, wish I could think of something to say to this human.
Yeah.
That's more just general social anxiety. So she just wants some more wine.
She wants wine.
Wonder how much this is going to end up costing me, thinks Luke. Come on, Luke, you just got out in prison and enjoy yourself. I mean, that's the other thing with Luke. When we get to him, I guess, when you read the first Luke Cage comic, he's properly in prison. He's properly in prison because he's like a drug dealer and stuff. They don't kind of...
Oh, he's a drug dealer.
I think he's a drug dealer. He's definitely he's a bad guy who then goes on a road to redemption. He's not kind of like, so it has got a bit of that element of for a crime he didn't commit, but I think he just did commit it. He committed. He's in prison. And it's really dark. I read it the other day. I'd never read it before, but it's really edgy and it's very exciting.
So is he the first person that started their comic book career from prison since Absorbing Man? Because he was in prison,
of course. It could be similar story, but rather than very similar. But rather than Loki just sort of accidentally, what did he do? Just drop a potion in there and see what happens. I think it's some kind of government experiment where they're testing on people. Say you can get out of prison if you let us test on you, and lo and behold, he gets superpowers and decides to use them for good. But also, they become heroes for hire. It becomes Power Man and Iron Fist heroes for hire. So they're I like it. It makes sense. They're dating. They're at clubs. They're having to actually earn money. It's more.
Yeah, I like that positioning. Yeah, and that actually is mirrored with the entrance of the person we're supposed to be talking about today.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's at a similar sort of power level, I think. And I always look to that, like, have they just like overpowered them and it's just like they can do everything, Or is there, limitations? Is it balanced? And I think in this one they do quite a good job of that.
With Luke Cage and sort of Daredevil and Iron Fist, this is really where you get the street level hero. So you've got your kind of big cosmic heroes, and you've got the Fantastic Four exploring the impossible. and all that stuff. And then this is more like just grimy on the streets. And of course, I guess New York and stuff was like, if you go to New York now, oh, there's a cat walking across the screen. How lovely. Oh, he's got his tail right in. He's got his bum right in Jamie's face. Oh, mate. I see who holds the trousers. Where's the trousers? The cat wears the trousers. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but you get the idea that New York was really scary. Like taxi driver type scary.
Well, you get reminded of this, like, or you get shown this pretty immediately, because they're in this discotheque, they're on a date, and then this bad dude turns up, sleazy old Mr. Hayes.
Mr.
Turns up in
Hayes.
his fancy
And
car.
he's tiny.
He's a little man.
He's tiny.
And he has two very tall ladies with him and two toughies. And he comes in and he's a drug dealer, and everyone's like, oh no, not him. Bloody hell, not him. So Luke Cage is like, oh God, all right, here he is. Well, maybe his mate, they're both drug dealers, I don't know. I didn't think about that when I first read it. But all of a sudden, and the word here is frazat. That's the official word for, I was going to say Zorro's power then, no. El Aguila's power.
El Aguila.
Yeah.
El Aguila.
And in he comes. He's got like the typical bandana over the head with the eyes cut out.
Is he wearing a hat as well? Has he got a hat as well? He hasn't got. Oh, he has got a hat on the back of it, on his back.
Ah, right.
But I don't think he ever wears it.
Right. Well, it's there if he needs it. You know, if it's particularly sunny. And he whips out this massive sword. So I'm thinking like, okay, Dorman, you've done a pretty poor job here in this discotheque. Patting people down, you normally find little things. These days, it's like, what's that in that little bottle? Is that, what is that? Oh, it's my medicine. No, we're having that. No, he's got a massive sword.
Gigantic sword with a big hilt as well. So it's not like,
You can't hide that.
Like a cutlass.
It's a cutlass. He's gone in with a bloody cutlass. How's he managed that? Terrible Dorman.
So I'm like,
also, he was sat at the bar just before in a very lovely, and we do see his moustache there, in a very lovely shirt, which I quite like that shirt. It's orange with sort of black squiggles. I think that's him, isn't it? I assume it's him. So how he's got into that costume, we don't know. He's done it very quickly. Got a great big sword out.
whipped his
Just point
sword
out
out.
as well, he looks exactly like Charles Bronson, which was another late 70s mainstay.
Yeah. So like you're already thinking, okay, this is a bit dodgy, Dorman. You've let this guy in with a sword. 2 frames later, Misty goes, right, that's it, and reaches for her gun. Like, God, goodness me.
To shoot El Aguila.
Yeah, and like Iron Fist has to go, look, because they're on a date. He's like, let's not start shooting people just yet. She's like, all right.
She took a gun to a date. She's on the dance floor with a gun. Misty Nice, so cool.
And then the heavies who are looking after the little guy, they whip their guns out. They've come in with guns. It all kicks off. Then Chaucer, the chauffeur, comes in with a shotgun. It's like, is anyone in control of this club?
It's mad, isn't it? I do wonder how much, like Mary Jo Duffy, I don't know anything about her, the writer, whether she went to nightclubs in New York or if this was her general experience, that they were that terrifying in 1979 that everyone's just pulls out a gun at a moment's notice. But I like the way they're all kind of, obviously the little evil drug dealer guy is a baddie, but they're still kind of all in the same world. I like that feeling. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you are wrong and we are right. It's just kind of like, hey, come on, put the guns away. We're all getting guns out and shooting each other. What are we doing? Come on.
Yeah, it's very much like that because, you don't immediately say, okay, El Aguila's the goodie and drug dealer's a baddie, so therefore Iron Fist and Power Man join him to defeat the baddie. It's not like that at all. It's all blurred because they're like, well, they're on a date. They're like, oh, goodness sake. I was just about to buy some wine, spend all this money on this woman. I can't be doing with this. So they kind of step and they try and sort of slow it down. But no, the Eagle was like, sorry, I can't have that. I'm here to basically take all this guy's money, teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
And we know he's Spanish because he does put words at the end of his sentence like señor and adios. So it's confirmed.
It's confirmed.
No. Then he legs it off into the night. And goes around the city doing really nice things, like basically duffing up bad people. He's a vigilante, essentially.
We've got a lovely montage scene, which is the best moment in any superhero film, isn't it? Where you just suddenly see them up to all their little things that they do.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, little bits and bobs. So he's
I
going
guess you
around.
have some lovely mariachi music playing under this as well. Under this scene. But he's got a great big sword. I mean, he must be killing people. He must be. Although he zaps them through the sword. He creates energy blasts through the sword.
Yes. They're like electrostatic blasts. You know, like when you get that little zap when you're like walking across a rug and then you touch the doorknob.
Okay.
It's like that, but perhaps slightly more powerful.
Yeah.
That's his superpower. As I say, they've leveled the powers quite nicely.
Yeah.
And so
to zap some people.
He's probably been zapping. And
So at this point, is he a hero? Is he a villain? Because often what happens in like Batman and stuff, there'll be another vigilante turns up and they're kind of like, it's kind of a bit sort of vague as to why they aren't allowed to be a vigilante as well as Batman. Whereas in this case, it's not just like we don't want any Spanish ones. Why are you here?
yeah, Luke
Why are you
Cage
not
just
cleaning up the streets of Madrid? But there is a I mean, it's kind of bad, but also brilliant. There are reasons why Power Man and Iron Fist have to bring him in. I love the fact that this guy here, who is like the local slum landlord boss, looks frighteningly like, is it Jimmy Tarbuck?
I've got that in my notes.
Tarbuck.
I've got that in my notes. It's Jimmy Tarbuck.
Famous 1970s comedian. And it's so like specifically looks like him. It must be based on him, I think. Because all the other characters are kind of like drawn a bit more generically, but he looks like they've specifically copied his face. How strange.
Yeah. Well, perhaps it feeds into Jamie's theory about they're just grabbing things that are in the 70s around them.
Yeah.
Jimmy Tarbuck.
What the kids like? They're like Shaft. They're like Zorro. They're like Jimmy Tarbuck. The editor's just breathing down poor old Mary Jo Duffy's neck. Get Jimmy Tarbuck in. The kids love him. You know. Yeah.
I actually thought it looked like any 1970s kind of northern football manager. Like this guy's definitely managed Leeds United, I thought.
Yeah. He's got to have a fag on all the time, hasn't he? Or like a sort of, like a councilman for like, I'm going political, a councilman for like a sort of, what are now called Reform UK, but back in the day. Do you know what I mean? He could definitely be.
He's got a bit of the John Prescott about him as well.
He has got a bit of John Prescott about him. But you're right, two jabs Prescott. Was that his name? Because he punched that guy. I'm actually, as I said, I'm in Budapest at the minute, and they've just had the European European elections. The whole thing's an illusion. It'll never work. The EU, what? But so there's like these posters everywhere for all the parties, but I'm aware. I keep meaning to look into it, but I haven't looked yet. I'm slightly frightened because they might be listening in. But as I understand it, the current party in charge is somewhat authoritarian. And the posters for his party, they're all orange. And they've all got like a badge that is a kind of Christian police badge. Like, we are the Christian police. like on all the posters, all the different politicians who came out, and they all look like the worst people you could ever see. They all look like this guy, you know.
Sounds like God Loves Man Kills again.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like that. It's quite nervy. I feel quite on edge.
Be careful, Colin.
I'm watching my every
Good luck getting back on.
God, they're listening to every podcast being recorded in this country right now. It's a lovely hotel, though. But, so Jimmy Tarbuck says, get rid of him because he's making business too hard for me.
And they're like, hang on.
This I found very hard to get my head around. That Power Man and Iron Fist go along with the baddie.
Yeah, well...
Clearly a baddie.
It's because they are contractually obliged to. It's absolutely brilliant. They're like, hang on, mate. We're not doing what you say. You're clearly a baddie, a local hoodlum. No. And then I think it's the
They hate him.
secretary
They
or something.
despise him and everything he stands for.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They sort of they're mildly miffed about the Eagle popping around and doing his stuff, but this guy, no, absolutely not. And then someone in the background just goes, "Sorry, guys, just to remind you, you have signed a contract, and this chap has put you on a retainer, which means you are going to have to do what he says."
So they signed a contract that they'd work for this dodgy slum landlord.
Yeah. They obviously didn't read the small print.
You've really got to check those contracts, guys.
Yeah.
Desperate for work.
It's tough.
How wonderful is Luke Cage's outfit, by the way, as well? That he's just got a big yellow open shirt and a chain for a belt.
Yeah, man.
That would have made that series so much better.
Absorbing Man had a chain as well. There's all these connections.
Yes. Is it the chain that was wrapped around his ankle, like Absorbing Man's? I don't know. I'm sure by that point, people still didn't have big balls attached to their legs. I hope not.
I think they got rid of that, didn't they?
Yeah. But anyway, so they have to agree to work for this awful Tarbuck guy and capture El Aguila.
Yeah. But the trouble is, I'm going to say it again, El Aguila. Sorry, Colin.
El Aguila.
I'm just hearing that, our Spanish listeners, our international listeners across the globe, who knows, in Chile or something, go, no. So they can't track him down because everyone's hush-hush. He's doing a good thing. Sorry, mate. Nah.
They say no sé, S-E with an accent.
So no sé.
No sé.
Don't know.
No sé.
No sé. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Colin. So they say, all right, we're going to have to just watch Jimmy Tarbuck because eventually he's going to come for him.
Yeah.
So they watch him, and lo and behold, he turns up. They have a bit of a dust up. He zaps Luke Cage with his static.
Yeah.
But then
does it do anything? Can it hurt him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it does
downs
a little bit. Yeah. Oh,
In fact, he says it hurts so much I almost wish I was dead.
That must really hurt.
That's a sting, isn't it? I've never said that.
He's got bulletproof skin, but it's not friction burn proof or whatever. It's static proof.
Yeah.
You get him with like a balloon, rub it on his head.
Yeah.
He's done for.
Yeah, they've all got weaknesses, which I like. I like
that. Yeah.
But then, like, Iron Fist just goes, oh, I hope you haven't hurt my mate. You're not doing that again. And just comes up and just lamps him.
Yeah.
Knocks him out.
I think he's meant to be the greatest martial artist in the Marvel Universe. Or that could be Shang-Chi, who appears later. But he's called Iron Fist because he can generate a big iron... Well, it's not really an iron fist. It's just like a big laser fist and then hit people with it. It's like it's kind of like a Hayuken.
Oh,
right. He uses it, yeah? I think he just uses...
He just punches
general kung fu.
Yeah, he saves his power. Like turning the lights off when you leave a room.
Wonderful costumes all round. This is my perfect, ideal level of costume, I think, the disco era.
Yeah, I like it.
Anyway, sorry, Dan. Finish the story, bud.
Yeah, so then eventually, they kind of realise, actually, there's a way out of this contract. There is a way out. And they say, hang on a minute. So what does being on retainer mean? And then they realise, it means that we have to work. Basically, we have to do a 9 till 5 for him. But after 5 o'clock, no, we're not at work anymore. We can do what we like.
Oh, it specifically says you only have to, even though they're private investigators, they can only work between 9 and 5.
It says, well then, sorry, Preston, it's after 5. We don't work after 5. You'll never get away with this. But no, they've got him on the even smaller print.
Oh, very clever, Luke.
And so the Eagle escapes into the night to do some more vigilanteing.
Yeah, and a lovely shot where they freak out Luke Cage for some reason. What happens? And he's oh no, sorry, that's not him. That's Jimmy Tarbuck, where he goes, "You greasy little wetback." Is wetback a horrible phrase against Spanish people?
Typically Mexican people, but
is it? Oh, this Jimmy Tarbuck guy is the worst. But it's all just red. It's good. That's kind of like Frank Miller type artwork. I love that. But yeah, Luke Cage steps in the end, doesn't he? And they shoot him. And what do they do with Jimmy Tarbuck? They just leave him in the car.
He's in a car. It's got the window smashed. He's sort of poking through the smashed glass, waving his fist around. He's not happy, Jimmy. But sorry, it's too late. As in, it's after 5.
Yeah.
I like that he screams at them, "You'll never get away with it," and they just have a chat about going to see a film at the cinema. Completely ignored.
Oh yeah. What film was it? Was it
it's John
Death
Wayne.
Wish?
It was Rio.
What was
Grande.
a John Wayne movie?
They say it's an oldie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird end, isn't it? That smacks of someone just looking out the window and going, "Oh, John Wayne film, put that in." I mean, that's how I do most of my writing. A lot of my characters are called things like Mr. Chair. I did see in the art gallery today, by the way, I did see a painting of a German comedian who famously played the character John Sausage. He was a cheeky little, it was a portrait of him going, "Whoa," eating this big sausage. Whoa, John Sausage. Oh, man. Yeah. So what do we think of El Aguila? I mean, we like him a lot. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a lot of points for originality because I think he's just absolutely copied from Zorro. He is Zorro, essentially.
He is just
but
Zorro.
with static.
Yeah, Zorro with static.
But if we want it, there is science here.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it. Off we go into Science Corner.
So statics where if you rub two materials together, some of the electrons jump from one to the other. So the electrons are the negative charge particles. So you're left with fewer electrons. So then if you touch something...
I'm lost already. So hang on. Would this blast Luke Cage? Would this work as a blast?
Well, yeah, just like we get blasted by static at the moment, and like it's lightning. It's lightning essentially. So yeah, we can get zapped by lightning. We can get zapped
so he's
by
creating lightning.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
And why would he need the sword though? Do we know?
Yeah,
This looks cool.
I think it just looks cool, doesn't it? Really,
The power's coming from him.
it is because it's proven that it's coming from him because they take his sword away. And he's like, "Afraid not, guys." He touches the metal car and they're touching the car and he zaps them through that. He statics them through that. Presumably their hair just stands up on end or something.
I'm afraid El Aguila doesn't have many more appearances. I think he's below 50 appearances. I guess he becomes a bit of a joke after that. But I think he does appear in the MCU, in the She-Hulk series. I think we've got in there. Shame, because I think you'd be a good El Aguila, Dan. I think you could definitely play him.
Oh, muchas gracias, señor.
Yeah. And you can speak Spanish nearly, or you're learning.
A little bit,
Yeah, and you could wear a wig or something, couldn't you, I suppose? I think he could be bald.
I've definitely got an unusual moustache potential there, haven't I?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we like El Aguila. Great fun. So we're doing 3, so should we just pick one? We could ditch the whole points system.
Fine.
I was thinking, are we ready to ditch the point system?
Gosh.
As much fun as it was. I've rearranged the upcoming list of characters and I've put 3 for every episode, apart from Super Duper. So basically my plan is you just get 1 comic for each character unless there is, unless they've got such a history that you have to read kind of 3, 4, 5, maximum 6. But 6 is really pushing it, isn't it? Yeah. So we're going to, instead, it's a knockout. So that's El Aguila, the Spanish vigilante, heartbreaker, Tarbuck slayer of the streets. Is he hero or villain? I mean, he's a hero, isn't he, really?
Yeah. I think he is. And he's charming.
I like, again, that with Luke Cage and Iron Fist, it comes down to money and contracts and stuff like that. And just like, it's just really boring stuff you've got to deal with in life. It's like when I've got a gig and I really want to get out of it, but it's like, if you get out of it, it's too late. And then, there is, I believe there's a Luke Cage-ish story where he goes to Latveria, home of Doctor Doom, because Doctor Doom owes him $100 and like knocks down the door and demands his money, which I haven't read it, but I heard someone talking about it. I love that.
It's brilliant.
That's why I love Luke Cage so much. And I hate the new boring Luke Cage, the way he's done nowadays. But I don't know, maybe this is a bit too stereotypy, out of date type character. I don't know. Same as El Aguila, I guess. Although I do like, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, dating. And there's no, she's black, he's white. Very progressive for 1979. And no kind of, they're not talking about it as a big thing. Well done, Marvel. You're so progressive. Yeah. Great. So that was El Aguila. Jamie, unless you have any thoughts on El Aguila, would you like to take us through the wonderful Air Walker?
I'm going to crack on with, this is the Fantastic Four, issue 120, which has a screaming front page that says "The Horror That Walks on Air." Now, I'm gonna take you through what happens in this comic in the same way that it happens in the comic, incredibly quickly and with not a lot going on.
Can I just ask before you dive in, did you read the comic afterwards?
I didn't.
You didn't.
I know you did.
That's fine. So I can explain who the hell Air Walker is, because we don't get much.
I will set you up to explain exactly what it's about. But
first of all, one point though, the horror that walks on air. I mean, most of the characters can fly, so. Yeah.
But he doesn't really fly. He sort of walks maybe 6-7 feet above the ground. That's his superpower.
He levitates a bit.
Has to be careful around basketball players, but otherwise he's just kind of above. He just doesn't do anyone any harm. So basically the comic opens with the Fantastic Four all in their office, their headquarters, their building. And a bunch of guys break in with guns. And we get the usual Fantastic Four thing where each of them deals with one of the bad. There are 4 bad guys, and each of the Fantastic Four deal with them in their own. Just to remind you what their superpowers are, because after 120 episodes, apparently that's still a bit of a blur for people. Need to refresh people's memory. Anyway,
well, of course, nerds was still a fairly new thing at this point, So people didn't have. Everyone might be picking up and going, "Oh, what's he do? What's he do?"
Yeah, true.
We didn't have this endless knowledge and at our fingertips.
Anyway, bizarrely, so they kick them out of the building, save the day, but they do create quite a mess in the building, and at this point, the landlord of the building arrives and asks them to leave, very politely, asks them to please vacate. This was in the days before no-fault evictions were a thing. He can just get rid of them, apparently. Really,
he's no slum landlord Jimmy Tarbuck either, is he?
No,
he's
we
more like
need
a sort
the
of
lawyers from that other one to come and protect the Fantastic Four's tenancy rights, I think. Because, they get kicked out. But before he can kick them out, before they have to leave, which, for no good reason, Agatha Harkness, our old friend Agatha Harkness, appears to them in a vision or in a sort of cloud of smoke and light.
Just a great big massive head.
And it's just a great big massive head. She looks a bit like Don Pertwee.
She does look a bit like John Pertwee.
Instance, and she warns them that something terrible's coming.
I have terrible news.
She doesn't know what it is, but there's something terrible coming, and she can't see exactly what it is because it's outside the range of her powers.
That's quite annoying. Why?
Witchcraft powers.
That's like when people go, something was this really bad thing, but I can't tell you about it.
Yeah.
Go on, tell me. Well, you've said it now. So, no, sorry, I can't. I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have put my big flaming head in the middle of your room. I also love that they're very science-based, right? I know they've been to negative zones and all this stuff by this point, but they're still very science-based, right? The Fantastic Four, they're explorers. But this whole witchcraft thing, and Human Torch just says, it's Agatha Harkness contacting us by the power of witchcraft. It just it's very mundane. It's very she's on the phone.
Yeah. Well, as soon as she goes, having warned them about this thing, they do go straight to the lab immediately to use the trans-global scanner to see if anything unusual has been reported. And then they do a sort of montage of different places around the world.
Oh, yeah.
People speaking in really crude regional dialects. There's a gondolier in Venice they're all looking up at the sky and seeing something. The gondolier in Venice is saying, "Mamma mia, it's a miracle."
Do you know what, Daniel? I think we need, Daniel, please, could we have some fun music for this part? Has everyone got it open?
Yeah.
We could have a little go at doing each one. Dan, have you got it open?
I do. I'm bloody awful at accents.
So we start.
Bloody awful.
Okay, let's give it a go. So we start, first of all, we're in the USA, I assume, and someone's going, "Holy Hannah, what's that?" Then we're on a boat, so it could be any accent. Anyone want to?
Yeah, I'll do that one because I'm rubbish at accents.
Go on then.
Look at the sky above us. How could it be?
Yeah, they're from Bromley. You can tell.
From Bromley. And then Jamie, we're
up a mountain.
Germans on a mountain.
It is not possible. We must be dreaming. Nein, mein Herr, it is a nightmare.
Hang on, did you say that was a dream? It's not a dream, it's a nightmare. What's a bad dream called? A nightmare? Yeah.
This next one is in a plane cockpit where the pilot and the co-pilot are talking, but it's clearly supposed to be British Airways.
I think they're British
Airways. It opens with the word "blimey."
Blimey, we're going mad. I can't believe it. I can't.
I thought that sounded like that really bad Dick Van Dyke type. I can't believe it. I can't.
Oh, okay.
And yes, then
I don't. Yeah.
Got our gondolier saying it's a miracle.
And then
we go to Russia.
Is it Russia?
Oh yeah. Tell us, comrade. There's an old lady with a headscarf holding some bread or something, or just a big parcel. I'll be the lady, Jamie, if you want to be the man. Tell us, comrade, what can it be?
An evil capitalistic trick.
Yes.
Clearly, it's to do with the communists.
Next one is China. Not sure we should do that one.
Speaking of China, well, I do love the fact they've put, why did Chairman Mao not warn us of such a thing?
But also they say, "Behold, in the sky, it is most passing strange."
Yes.
As all Chinese people talk like they're very wise.
Yes.
And a bit magic. And then that?
You got, what kind of safari is this? I never saw anything like that in Africa before.
No man ever did, says an Egyptian man, perhaps, but I think maybe he's South African. What kind of safari is this? I never saw anything like that in Africa before. That's my guess. He looks like a bad egg.
They definitely added that. I've never seen anything like that in Africa before later on, because they realized it was you can't tell where that is. We'll just have to just say it. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that in this place where I am before.
A lot of fun just going around the whole world very quickly and seeing
very
them
briefly
and their accents. I love that. That's great. But to be fair to them, normally in this kind of situation, you see the Eiffel Tower. It's like a running to the Tower of Pisa. There, yeah. Pisa, even.
Yeah. The gondolier was a bit
stock images.
Gondolier was a bit on the nose, but
pyramids you normally see.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, we've gone all the way around. I also like the fact that the Fantastic Four just run to the lab immediately, and I just made me think, I never run anywhere unless I'm running. Unless I'm deliberately running, as in going for a run. But can you imagine if your life, would you be a better life? Or, I mean, it'd be stressful, I guess. But if it made me think, maybe I'm just going to run everywhere. Like, I'm just going to run to the toilet.
How far is the lab? It doesn't feel like...
It doesn't look very far. I think it's across the room.
Couple of seconds.
Run!
He's walked across the universe. He'll wait.
Have you ever had to run to get anywhere, really?
It's Air Walker. You can walk. If it was Air Runner, you'd have a problem. You'd have a need to get a bit of a hustle.
Air Runner, the man who runs around on the air around the world.
Anyway, here he is. He's arrived.
Here he comes.
We get a big picture of him, and well, what can we say about him? So he's sort of surrounded by. I mean, are these wings? It's a sort of flaming wing-like apparition, which is sort of purple and yellow. And
what do we think of that costume? I mean, I think that's his. But why does he have wings if he's walking on air? Are they flapping?
I think this costume is bold. I think that's what we can say. Like he's thrown it together, And he's used all the primary. I want all the primary colours. I want yellows, reds, black, bit of black. Keep
What
the
have we
arms.
got?
Keep the arms loose. Big red gauntlets.
It's like
Love
they've
them.
just got a load of different super characters from other issues and gone and have that helmet,
Yeah.
those. But I like, he's got this sort of a bit Romany sort of helmet. Is it not really Romany? I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got like these weird pointy shoulder pads, but then he's wearing what look like boxing shorts that are pulled right up. Pulled right up. But menacing. Is he menacing? Everyone really freaks out, don't they?
Yeah, everybody. So he basically doesn't do anything. He is walking. He's just sort of purposefully floating across the.
Hang on.
Across the sky.
I don't get it because everyone around the world is looking at him, but he's just a man-sized man who's in New York. So how are they all looking at him?
Well, I presume it's over a course of several weeks where he's passing. You know, it's like the one in China. It took him 6 weeks later to get to Africa. That was.
I mean, to walk even. Unless he's walking really fast. Do you think he's like power walking? You know, like those ladies who go power walking.
Yeah.
Well, I know men can do it as well, but I'm thinking of sort of middle-aged ladies going power walking. Do you think
he is walking?
I like they're doing that, but on air.
He is walking, and then
you'd be laughing.
And then they realised, well, that's not. Is he just going to walk? So suddenly they say, well, distance itself is without meaning to him, for he can zoom through the sky faster than the eye can follow, which is good because we don't need to draw him. We'll just draw a kind of white line to show where he was.
But are his legs moving really fast?
Yeah.
I'm just really into his legs, into the walking aspect.
But surely not faster than all the eyes can follow, because we've just seen everyone around the world seeing him.
Well, he
Does
just
it
got
slow down.
I think he was slow at the beginning, and then he realised he got to get a wriggle on, otherwise the issue will be over. He's going to have to.
It's really hard to really understand how or what he is.
Yes.
Or what's happening. I mean, you'll notice the art is John Buscema, who is a famous comic artist, but he's no Jack Kirby. Just it doesn't get that same excitement as we got in earlier Fantastic Four, I don't think, does it? Doesn't tell the story as well, may I say.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Yes, good. Oh, anyway, so he walks around the world really fast, which looking really miserable.
Yeah.
Right. And he's got no eyebrows. He's a wrong one.
He's not up to much. I mean, he just walks. He's not said anything. He's dead silent. He's just sort of floating about. Fantastic Four, come and have a look at him. And for some reason they decide, well, this guy's not up to much. We better provoke him. So
fire all the missiles at him.
So they attack him with all of their powers, of which none seem to work. They're all clueless as to how to get this guy. Obviously, the Thing then gets too annoyed, so he decides to throw a car at him.
Just got to pick up this car and whack him with it.
Yeah.
That'll tell him.
And meanwhile, then a plane arrives. The military trying to track him, but he just does a gesture and blows it up in the sky. Tanks, for some reason, immediately launch on it. He's still not done anything, by the way, at this stage. He's still just floating
around
there.
really fast. Looking glum.
Yeah. And then so eventually they think, well, we better just ask him what he's about because nothing's working. And Thing says, get set for the payoff. We know this has been come. And he grabs their car, flings it around, and then starts to leave. What is it? 19 pages in, all of a sudden, he shouts, "Be silent, all." And they say, "Oh, he can talk." It's like, well, that would have cut a lot of time out of this. We could have cut the middle of this comic right out. So we still don't know what he wants, but here he goes. And he says, "I've come to this sick and savage planet to make an announcement. You must prepare for the final judgment. All of mankind is doomed."
Oh, mate.
So they were right to be suspicious of him, and Agatha was right to exercise caution.
I guess after you've had Galactus, you've had, the Mole Man, all these things. If someone turns up walking in the air, the army just goes, just shoot him now.
Yeah.
Everyone just shoot him, and everyone just freaks out. But then he has the horn of Gabriel and he says, my name is Gabriel. So the idea is obviously he's meant to be the angel.
Well, he says, I come from above. Yes, it is time for men to learn the answer. I come from above. As for my name and my mission, perhaps this golden object will furnish a clue.
Tiny little trumpet that gets bigger.
A tiny trumpet that expands and expands and becomes, let's say, a medium-sized trumpet. And he says, it's the trumpet of Gabriel, for such is my name. I have come here to blow it, to let mankind know the end of the world is at hand. To be continued.
I like the idea. I've come here. Sorry, go on. Please.
To be continued, end of comic.
Well, actually, it says continued if we manage to survive.
Ah, yes.
Which again is blurring this. And this isn't always good, you know, like my little boy, he gets a bit confused between what's real and what's not. So Stanley, you're dicing with death, just telling people this might be real, you know. Somebody might read and go, oh, what? Hang on. This is real. But anyway, he blows that trumpet. I've come here to blow it, to let mankind know the end of the world is at hand. I mean, they're just playing the greatest hits, aren't they, really? They've just said, you know, do you remember those things we did before, like Galactus, where a baddie comes and then everyone freaks out? But they haven't earned it, really. I don't think he's earned it. His costume looks very silly.
I mean, the hero pose he strikes on the very last page is ridiculous. Legs to one side, a big power pose. But at the end of the day, mate, you're blowing a French horn. It's not
a great big French horn.
It's perhaps not the big flex that you think it is. If you look back at this in the mirror, you'd probably go,
yeah, I look like a right idiot. Ugh. Shall I explain who he really is?
Great, though. Costume looked great. Couldn't fault it. Yes, please.
Well, you know, this feels very much like Galactus and the coming of Galactus and the destroying of worlds and all that stuff. It just is that. It turns out he's just Galactus's new herald. And then they fight him for ages in the next issue. And then he breaks and he's a robot. And then Galactus appears and goes, oh, he was my herald. I've come to destroy the Earth. Which is weird because the previous Galactus story ends with a standoff where Reed Richards, I mean, we haven't read it, but he basically says, I've got this weapon that will destroy everything unless you go. Just destroys the universe unless you leave us alone, which is pretty dangerous stalemate. So yeah, it is just playing the old ideas, I'm afraid, but not very well. But what the bit I explained about hearing my brother's stories, which didn't come out as well as I thought it would, because I realized you didn't actually read these stories anyway. But when I looked it up, it turns out Gabriel, his real name was Gabriel. He became he was a real person from Xandar, where the Nova Corps are from, if you remember the Guardians of the Galaxy. He became Galactus's herald. Then he got killed. But there's one bit that really made me laugh where he's Galactus herald. And it says in this thing that's explaining him, for many months, he would listen for many hours to Galactus's long stories, which really, I just like the idea that they're really boring. Or Galactus is just but even though he's lived since the beginning of time, he's like, you know, come on, let me tell you this one more story. He's like, oh, I've got to go and check out this planet, see if it's right. No, come on, sit down, let me tell you. Right.
I think this is why he's the Airwalker. I think he's like, I'm going to take my sweet time because I'm not going back to listen to that.
Yeah.
I'll take me time.
Yeah, it's like...
The longer I'm here just floating...
When you drive around a bit longer so you don't have to get back and do the washing up and stuff. Yeah.
But as soon as I blow that trumpet, it'll be down here.
My brother Steve will often tell me these long stories that and I'm like, Steve, I ain't got time. He's going, go, just sit down. Let me just read you this story that I've written. Here you go. I think Galactus does like fan fiction. Right, come on, no, listen, this is good stuff. You like this one. You like superheroes and that, don't you? Here we go. Right. So yeah, but then the real Gabriel Airwalker died. And so Galactus liked him so much because he used to listen to all his boring stories that Galactus remade him as a robot. So this is a robot. So there you go. That's Airwalker. Not impressed. They're not impressed. I think currently El Aguila is beating Airwalker. Okay, fine. Well, finally, let's meet Ajak. Not Ajax, Ajak. Important distinction. 6'2", 220 pounds. That's heavy, isn't it? Sounds heavy. Pretty bloody heavy. Eyes grey, hair black. Created by Jack Kirby in 1976. Eternals 2, which we read. So Ajak is in the Eternals movie, but is played by Salma Hayek. So Ajak has become a woman. But this kind of makes sense because of the Eternals. First of all, have either of you ever heard anything about the Eternals or seen the movie or anything like that?
You're not talking about the band...
Eternal.
Oh, Eternal. Yeah, no, I know about them. You might have to help me with the Eternals.
Okay. No, how much do you know about the band Eternal?
I watched the film, and I still need to be told about them because I remember nothing of it.
Yeah. That I didn't think the film was as bad as people made out, but in terms of the history of the comics, as in the business side, Jack Kirby left Marvel in a bit of a huff, I think, because people were just using his ideas. He never got paid properly and all this, and then they brought him back, presumably with a big chunk of money, and saying you do whatever you want. So he created these quite insane ideas like the Eternals, which I immediately loved. Again, 1970s, a lot of theories about aliens. It says on it, more fantastic than Chariots of the Gods, which is a famous book, which I think was the first book that came up with the idea that aliens built the pyramids, basically. So, like, what's that program? Ancient Aliens. Have you ever seen that on the History Channel? I did the continuity of the History Channel a lot for some years, and I had to do a lot of Ancient Aliens. It's one of the most popular programs in the world, I think, which, and everyone believes it's real. It's basically just the vaguest idea that maybe an alien built this, but that they've done so many episodes. They're like, Robin Hood, was he an alien? I don't know. Like running out of ideas. Could have been. No human could fire a bow like that. It must have been a laser blaster. How else? Anyway, so he literally references Chariots of the Gods on the cover. This is it, the coming of the Celestials. So we meet three creatures, three humanoids, or four, in fact. A man and a woman who are just humans, an old man and his daughter. And the daughter is basically there to just sort of swoon a lot. She's quite sort of up close to Icarus, who is an eternal. And then there is Crow, who is a deviant. So the idea is, in a nutshell, that the Celestials, these ancient gods, came to Earth and they created us, and they created the deviants, and they created the Eternals. The Eternals are there to protect us. The deviants are there to eat us, presumably. Well, the idea is that all Greek myths and ancient Egyptian myths and all that can be traced back to these three races that were created by the Celestials, and the Eternals were there to protect us. So they're all the heroes. That's why they've got names like Icarus, which is Icarus, but spelled a bit different. One thing I really love about Icarus is he does for a while have a human name, which is Ike Harris. Brilliant. Anyway, they're in this ancient Aztec temple. Lovely. On the first page, it says, turn this page. Oh, these people are watching the most overwhelming object ever seen in the 20th century. Turn the page and you'll see it too. Oh my God. It really is overwhelming. I had to lie down for a long time after looking at that big, whatever it is. It's a big ship. I love Jack Kirby. He's great, right? I mean, it's sort of seeing Airwalker and how kind of naff he looks. You just got to love his designs. They're so bizarre, out there, crazy ideas. Anyway, Crow the Deviant runs off in an underwater vessel because these gods have returned to Earth. The Celestials are returning to Earth. And then basically the whole issue is just a flashback of Icarus, or Ike Harris, explaining that the Deviants ruled the world. They challenged the gods and lost. They're basically the reason for Atlantis. They used man as beasts. And there's a lovely shot of a kind of frog man looking a bit like Brian Blessed character from Star Wars. Do you remember him? There's that guy sort of being carried around. And then a deviant just booting a guy up the arse, giving him a big old kick, treating him like a beast. Anyway, the Celestials came back and the Deviants didn't want them to come back, even though I believe that. So I think the Deviants were kind of the Celestials' first children. And so they tried to blast the Celestials out of the sky, but the Celestials basically dropped a nuclear bomb on them. And then that caused a huge flood. All the deviant cities were drowned. But some of the humans survived in an ark, a wooden vessel. How does he describe it? They managed to guide a great wooden vessel to safety.
So that's the Bible coming up again in this conversation.
Yeah, the Bible. And Icarus, or Icarus. I like that he's called Icarus. He led them to the mountaintop, levitating, because Icarus can basically fly, is his main power. All the Eternals have all the powers, basically. They're all Superman, but some of them are particularly good at certain things. So Icarus is particularly good at flying really fast. But the humans thought he was the bird. So they thought he was... I like the idea of looking out of the ship and seeing a flying man and going, it's probably a bird.
You mean, is it a bird? And then they just stop there.
And then what, sorry?
The question of, is it a bird? Is it a plane? They just stop at the first one. Is it a bird? Yeah.
Is it a bird? Yes. Stop asking questions. Anyway, so he gives him this potted history of the Eternals, and then he discovers a thing called a resurrection crypt, one for the science corner. He turns a sort of ancient dial, and that brings back Ajak, who is another Eternal. And he was turned into living atoms and stored. I like the idea that Icarus says to the woman as well when she's like just freaking out. Oh, this is too much information. She's just like, you're not just, oh my God, this is too much. He's like, you must accept this calmly. Okay, fine. I wish more people would say that to me. Anyway, they open wide the cosmic door and Ajak comes through. He looks pretty cool. He's in a sort of amazing Aztec superhero outfit. He's sort of got cool shades, a lovely big smile on him. He's a bit of a dirty dog. He's immediately saying to the lady, no danger shall ever claim this sweet young thing. Straight at, immediately sees a woman. He's literally been atoms since the time of the Aztecs, waiting in storage. Immediately comes back and he's like, right, where are the ladies? Here we go.
Luke Cage could learn a lot from this guy, couldn't he? His next date.
He's an absolute charmer, he really is. But he says, no, I haven't got time for that. Because the Celestials are coming back. And then he immediately just goes into action. He's got all these blokes with him. I don't know whether they're Eternals or not, but they're all wearing all sorts of random outfits. And they're just like, ho, 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 doing his action for him. And the action is to set up a thing to communicate with the Celestials. And the old man, the old human says, oh, I get it now. They're a ground crew, the kind we use at any airport. Which I feel like it's good that they're trying to get us to understand what's happening. But I feel like, Jack, you've created this incredible world. Incredible designs. It's rivals the Chariot of the Gods. Don't say they're like a ground crew you see at airports. But also they've been turned into living atoms and then brought back with a resurrection crypt purely so they can just guide a ship down. They've just got those big sort of, table tennis bat type things. Anyway, and then later on they say they train ground crews and then store them as atoms when not needed. Also, he says to the god, land on the ceremonial pylons. Very sort of, quite pedestrian language here, isn't it, really? But then finally, the big guy, the Celestial, does land on the ceremonial pylon. And the last page is just incredible. We see this giant red man with a big sort of, I don't know, a bin for a head, an upside down bin, but he looks incredible. And I'm going to read this final sentence that Jack's written. And I think he'd take the day off work after he wrote this. He says, Arasham, leader of the fourth host. The fourth host, I mean, that's cool. Lands firmly upon the pylon. Shame it's pylon. He will stand upon it for 50 Earth years, towering like the surrounding mountains above all life below. And on the last day of the 50th year, he will step from the pylon, and on that day, Earth will live or die. What a way to end. So he's just going to be there for 50 years. Does that mean there's 50 years of comics before we get to what happens. I don't know. I haven't read the next issue.
Well, when's this?
It drew me in. It's at the end of Eternals 2.
But I mean, what year is this again? Like,
1976.
How long we got? Have you done the maths? Like, so in 2 years' time?
In 2 years' time, he's stepping off. He's stepping off the pylon.
Oh my
He's
God.
just been stood on a pylon. The Eternals movie does end with just to spoil it for you all, with it turning out that there is a celestial inside the Earth, and the planet, it just exists as an egg, which is quite major stuff. And then he begins to rise at the end, but they sort of freeze him, somehow turn him to stone so he can't destroy the planet. And then no other Marvel film has mentioned it again. So just a giant celestial just coming out of the earth. So there you go. I mean, I loved every second of this one, I got to say. And I like that Ajak, it's kind of funny that you get reduced to atoms, then you get brought back, sort of like noodles. It's a bit like putting water on noodles, super noodles, and then you just become a ground crew for a big god to stand on a pylon. What a life.
It's quite a relief that they come back and they're immediately fine, aren't they? It's not like you have to sort of like shake yourself off like, oh, God, I've just been atoms. Nope, straight on it.
Immediately, just go.
I mean, I'm not like that when I wake up in the morning and I've not been atoms.
Yeah. Is there, just heading into Science Corner for a second, Dan,
Science Corner.
the logic of being turned into an atom, frozen as an atom, and then brought back. I mean, we're all made of atoms anyway, aren't we? So is it just like putting all our atoms into one atom?
Well, I mean, the fact that
How far has science got with this? How close are we? Give me the truth. Come on.
The concept of a living atom, I think, is the trouble because, you know, like atoms are, you know, basically the smallest bit of us.
Yeah.
And they're not, you know, they're beyond the life bit. The life bit happens when you put molecules together and then this thing emerges.
So all of our atoms on, it's very hard for me to get my head around, I won't lie. And I think Jack as well. I think that's why I just made this stuff up. But an atom couldn't be said to be alive.
An atom is...
Single atom.
No.
In my body. It's only when they come together, they're alive. Ooh.
Yeah. Well,
because the table's made of atoms, but that's not alive.
Exactly.
God, I'm really thick, aren't I? I'm really thick. God, the more I think about it, the more I think I'm really thick.
Well, none of us understand life.
Science is hard. Science is hard.
Science is really hard.
I wouldn't beat yourself up. Science is hard.
Oh. My little boy said he hates it. He hates science. Dad.
Science.
You're going to have to have a word with him. As his godfather, you're going to have to talk to him about this.
I'll teach him about science and Dungeons and Dragons. Leave it to me.
He loves that side. He loves fantasy, hates
Thank God
science.
for that. All right. I've got a job.
So there we go. Ajak. Should we just vote on who goes through to the next round?
Okay.
Unless you got anything on Ajak. Did you enjoy the Eternals story? Did that make you any wiser about the Eternals?
It was one of those ones where it's like, okay, there's a lot probably going on behind the scenes that I don't understand to really get the most out of this comic.
I did kind of explain everything, though.
Well, but I didn't know who the Eternals were really. I like, okay, there was the celestial thing and stuff, but I mean, the gods turned up in a big spaceship, and it did remind me of that the Star Trek film where they say, what does God need with a starship?
When does God have a star? In Star Trek 5, is it?
Is it 5 where they go to the centre of the
Where they meet God?
galaxy or something? They meet God, and he's like, "Can I have your ship, please?" They're like, "Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
What does God need with the starship?" And I was facing the same question here. Are they gods, and if so, why have they got ships? But
Well, I think it's the idea that the gods, or what are seen as the gods by the Aztecs, the Egyptians, and so on, were just really big aliens who are basically scientists, and they've used Earth as their petri dish.
I see.
If you will. Good
Fair
idea.
enough. Yeah.
Sort of see how far we've moved away from superheroes, though, in a sense. Because, like Spider-Man stopping a mugger. I mean, how do you deal with how do you even have good and evil in that at that level where we just exist because some big alien scientists mucked around with our gene pool?
Wow, this has gone there, isn't it? God.
Yeah, it's really gone there. And he goes there so quickly. Resurrection crypts. He comes up with some great things. Mind bombs. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Pause.
Well,
Yeah.
An eternal pause there for these.
I'm afraid I'm not
you
bailing.
guys are sold. You're not
I'm
sold.
not bailing Ajak out. He's got a very silly helmet that he's built. Presumably all this time spent. He's got frills on the top, the back. He looks like he's got a webcam on the front. It's ridiculous.
I like it, but they spent like 1,000. When was the Aztecs? Was that 1,000 years ago?
Colin, it was actually the
1,000 years ago?
Incas. It's actually the
Oh, was
Incas.
it the Incas?
Yeah, I didn't want to like jump in and say, but yeah, it's the Incas,
yeah.
and they were about 500
boy.
years ago. Because I went
Is that
there and had a
all?
look.
The
Yeah,
Incas were 500 years ago.
yeah. Machu Picchu was made like it's 15th century.
I think I had a little look at Ajak, and I think he also was a god for the Aztecs. He got around.
Oh right.
He was everyone's god, just hanging out. I like that he's just really happy to be there. I mean, I guess you would be happy. I hope he wasn't sentient during that whole, or conscious, while he was freeze-dried with 7 other men. I think they had relationships within the atom. I think they kind of fell in love. That's the story I want to tell. That's the real story, just within this one atom. I mean, I don't know. He's just telling them all these stories. He's like Galactus. He's really boring stories. I should point out, by the way, my brother Stephen's stories, they are good. He is good at writing. It's more that he corners me and makes me listen to them. Like Galactus with Airwalker. Okay, so Jamie, you're voting for El Aguila. El Aguila?
All pronunciations. However it's pronounced, for me, he's in. Aguila.
I'm going for Ajak because I feel like he was just Zorro. I liked his street-wise. I like that he was sticking it to the man, Jimmy Tarbuck. But he was just a man with a sword. He looked great, though. Dan, the final vote.
Well, I better not go for Airwalker. That'd muck it up, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, then we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? Would you have said Airwalker of the 3?
No, I would not.
Okay.
I would not. I'm gonna go with my guy. I'm afraid. I'm gonna back the Eagle.
El Aguila.
Eagle has landed.
Aguila. Wonderful. Well, there you go. Aguila, El Aguila, is our next winner, is the winner of this episode. I'm explaining this very badly, aren't I? It's quite late, by the way, everyone. It's even late for me. I'm an hour ahead than you boys. So that's the winner. Aguila is the winner of this round of my favorite Marvel character. He will go through to a group of 5, and then one of them will go on. That's the plan. That's how they do sports, right?
That's how they do sports.
That's how they do sports in this town. If you want to support us, click on the link in the information on here. Patreon.com/abombtozzzax. Anyway, next week, we're going to be reading Excalibur from 2006, number 5, with Albion. Ooh, a very British hero or villain. Marvel Presents 1975, number 4, with Alita. Not Spanish. I don't know why I said it like that. I know she could be. She's like a space alien. You'll find out. And Runaways from 2003, number 1, where we meet Alex Wilder. Alex Wilder. Albion, Alita, Alex Wilder. Who was there? We got Adam Destine. Oh, God, the clandestine. One of my favorite things in life. I think main reason I'm doing this podcast is because I love making the lists. It gives me absolute pleasure at night. I'm down to the end of C. I've finished C. We're so far ahead now.
That's like 2047, isn't it?
Yeah, who is Cyclops? But if we're doing 3 every episode, we can crack through quicker, I reckon.
Okay.
Maybe we can do 4. All right, well, there we go. Thank you all for listening. Aguila is the winner. Say goodbye, boys.
Bye.
Bye.